Hi friends, host Eric here, host Talking with Famous People. I'm here with Opaloid, and today we're going to make a video in which we refer to a set of clips from another YouTube creator's video and talk about what it reveals regarding the functions and the individual displaying those functions. And I'll start just by leaving it at that and playing the first clip. So here we go.
If this happens, I do this, you know. Or if I see this company, I'm going to tell you what I think about it, so you change your value system on that, you know. That's basically what happens. So I don't know how many times I've seen people in their lives, and I've interrupted their lives, randomly started talking to them, given them a little bit piece of knowledge or wisdom or something, just guide their path slightly, because I could see their future with Expert Intuition Hero. Expert Intuition is all about looking into the will of other people. It's aware of what other people want, what other people are going to do before they do it, their desires, their future. I could literally see into the future of other people, and then I just say that one thing that kind of course corrects their future a little bit if they listen to me, and then they end up having a better life. I don't know how many times.
Okay, so what we just heard there is him describing his understanding of extrovert intuition, and he talked about, first let me just say that by and large I find a lot of the information he does provide in this video accurate towards ENTPs, especially towards the latter part when he's describing the interaction of the ENTP with the need to not be trapped. I found that very resonant. So this is not a general critique of this guy's information providing, which I think overall is quite good. This is instead a discussion about what he's revealing in terms of cognitive functions and what he's demonstrating, in my opinion, as opposed to what he's saying. So we're going to start off with that disclaimer. Now, what I heard from him is a description of extrovert intuition that's wrong, but also more importantly, what he's attributing when he links it back to himself, the thing he's talking about is not extroverted intuition. It sounds to me just like extroverted thinking. Opaloid?
Yeah, I would agree with you. I would say the way that he describes the what ifs, even though that sounds like it's any possibilities and stuff like that, it sounds actually more like it's contingency planning, with TE coupled with NI, or NI coupled with TE even. If you look at Please Understand Me, the book by Kersey, the ENTJ is described as the field marshal. And what I'm hearing as I'm listening to that is a field marshalling that's occurring in what he's describing as his thought processes. So it's a what if this, what if that, so on and so forth. So he's seeing the possibilities, but he was also forming strategies and formulating ways of dealing with that, which narrow and guide towards a fixed outcome, which he has in his mind of how he'd like things to proceed. Also is the NI aspect, which seems quite apparent when he talks about prescience and anticipation and understanding, and in particular in the couplet or the sentence he says about these are my words, so he doesn't say this specifically, but basically intruding in people's lives and then trying to change the course that they may be headed through the stuff that he will provide, which will alter the course towards a particular path.
Towards the proper outcome. Towards the proper outcome.
Yeah. It sounded very NITE, and it seems quite distant away from any emergent qualities of whatever happens may happen.
Right.
Again, it's that having that notion of a goal in mind and fixing, adjusting, correcting, and maneuvering towards that fixed goal.
His thought that his extroverted intuition, quote unquote, plays out as seeing how other people's paths are misguided is not any expression of extroverted intuition that I'm familiar with. More significantly, note how he always says he sees, if this happens, I should do this. If that happens, I should do this. Whereas ENTPs are actually, if they argue X, I should respond with Y. It's not the same thing as what you should do. The difference is basically there's not a link back to that path. We're not. Well, why should you argue that? What are you trying to accomplish? Well, that's the best argument to make. That's what I'm trying to accomplish, making the best argument. But why? What path is it linked to? It links to my foot up your ass, bitch. That's like ENTP style approach to NE. So that to me says that's not extroverted intuition he's talking about.
Yeah, and it'll just link to that. It seems as though, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems as though for the ENTP, the juice is actually in the process, whereas for the ENTJ and what he's describing, the juice is actually in the outcome and the achievement of the outcome. So it's always
to him. He says, if they listen to me.
If they listen to him. But he seems very tied with the outcome that will be gotten to, and only gotten to by going this way, not this way, not this way, but this way. Whereas with, with ENTPs, and what I've experienced with NE is that there's a free-flowing fluidity and emergence, and if it happens to go in this direction, that's cool. If it goes off in this direction, so be it as well. But there's no sort of like end point where it must be got to, and must be guided or channeled towards.
NI is the holy grail. You don't ever actually expect to find it. He wants to see the world conform to it. So okay, let's watch the second clip.
Oh no! Before you do, something that's
Go ahead.
Apologies. Something that just popped into my head is you might actually, with him, you might actually be able to see how there's a confluence of NE with the TE in some regards, because it's as though he's going through possibilities, but it's always the possibilities which are generated towards some outcome that's in mind. So he's using the two together, but it's not NE in its sort of like most pure form as you would expect in its lead.
Right, and I think that he displays countervaluing that as well. Let's see what the other clips provide us to work with here.
Yeah,
so let's go to clip number 2.
TI parent. ESTPs have a similar bad rap in that way because they have TI parent as well, and they're accused of being harsh all the time. It's not about that. We're trying to help people. We tear them down so they can be built up again. We're going to burn the forest down so that their new life can come. And the only way to do that is to breathe fire with our TI parents. To breathe fire of truth, because truth burns like fire. It's like hellfire. It's burning the lies away, right? And that's what TI parent does. We exist to burn the lies away. We exist to cause other people to become diamonds. How are diamonds created? Well, diamonds are the most precious substance on the earth, right? But they're also inherently flawed, kind of like human beings. And what makes a diamond better? What creates a diamond? Pressure, heat, pain, suffering, truth, right? That's the whole point I'm trying to make with TI parent, guys. It exists to tell the truth for your sake, not just my sake.
Okay, guys, you hear that? So, I don't know. Opaloid, does that sound to you like an ENTP?
No, that doesn't sound like an ENTP. Echoing.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I need to turn off these speakers again. Thank you. Good. Thanks. Now it should be fine.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not super knowledgeable, but to what I think an ENTP is, that doesn't sound like an ENTP. An ENTP's, what I associate with ENTPs is that there's a fluidity, there's a playfulness, there's I wouldn't say a softness, but there's a sort of like a cloudiness of the NE and with the TI conditionality that comes with it. Whereas when I'm listening to this guy, I'm sorry, I don't know his name, but when I'm listening to him, what I'm hearing is quite a lot of the TEFI axis demonstrated in this second clip. So he talks in terms of the truth, the harshness of the truth. Talks in terms of a truth which is shared by all and must be expressed to all. He talks in terms of what I think is FI inferior with regards to a diamond. So FI diamond, the FI individual, which is being born out through suffering, through compression, through stress, through pressure, through the battle, through use various different adjectives. And I know that I'm not using his exact words, but things which are similar to that. And I think you can clearly see how the FI sense of like individuality, like fighting the good fight, like the battle, is expressed and coupled with the TE on top, and the TE is like, yes, I will go forth and conquer based upon sort of like me as an individual who is there to spread and share with all humanity. What do you think?
I mean, I think, yeah, I think that's very true, and I would draw the contrast that in general there's a lack of egalitarianism that is, I'm not critiquing as inherently bad, but that is reflective of a quadra value other than alpha quadra values, if you wanted to use socionic quadra values. But ENTPs are very egalitarian. More the sort of subtitles of this channel have included "There's nothing wrong with you," and friends not fans, and those both sort of echo the egalitarian sentiment. And I get very upset when people try to talk about, like, to insist on things be measured by impacts. But this guy's always measuring things by impacts. He's saying, guys, you gotta put up with some suffering and some pressure, or you're never going to become that diamond. And I'm saying there's nothing wrong with you. You don't need to. It's not that we don't. My message is, I'm conflicted about this whole time. I believe in optimization, but I believe in starting with the idea that there's nothing wrong with you. That to the extent that people have tried to convince you there's something wrong with you, they need to go fuck themselves. And so that's my basic position on that. And you get the sense that this guy's fundamental underlying value system views optimization differently. It says that we ought to optimize by taking ownership of the physicality of it. Whereas I tend to say, let's take ownership of the metaphysicality of it. Talk right. Don't do more stuff. Don't suffer. That's for sure. Suffering's a good way to accomplish. No, suffering's the worst possible way to accomplish things. Try to accomplish things without any suffering. So I tell my debaters too. We don't want to do anything that doesn't help us win, because then we're just doing unnecessary work. Let's only do the little bits of things that we have to do to win. We want this to be as suffering-free as possible.
And just to piggyback on what you just said about quadra values, so Eric is the ENTP, he's in the alpha quadra, which is about merriment and sort of like...
And egalitarianism.
Egalitarianism. And community and all of these other sort of like adjectives which go along with it. Whereas what I'm picking up from the guy in the clip is that everything is about a constant movement forward, and it's how are you going to get there? What are you going to do? It doesn't matter if you suffer as a consequence or face any hardship as a consequence, because everything that's in the way, be it your hardship, be it your own suffering, is something to be transcended towared the goal.
It's always value.
Yeah, and it's always that push towards that. And there's no...
It's his ticket to admission. It's his ticket to admission for being worth talking about at all. The only reason he can imagine one would have engagement with the world is to, he said, we're always focused on the future. We're always focused on that better future. The implicit value there is...
The TE.
Is TE. yeah, it's not any. Any's not interested in the future. It's interested in ideational novelty. And he's also not showing any ideational novelty here. He's doing a good job of disseminating information, but none of it is his own idea.
Yeah, and the other thing to throw into the mix is with the Alpha Quadrant, they're known as the philosopher types because they're ideating open-endedly and with an open mind and sort of like holding different perspectives and trying to reach some understanding, but through a negationary process. Whereas what you can see here with this guy, and again, sorry, my apologies for his name, is that
CS is his name.
CS, okay. With CS is that there's quite a declarative or making declarative statements towards the way to move forward and what one should do. It's not this sort of like open-ended holding, playing, sort of ideating. It's sort of like, oh no, this is what you do. This is what you need to do. This is how you do it, and this will get you there.
I wouldn't be talking to you at all if I didn't have a singular vision that I could share with you. Okay, but all right, so let's watch the last clip, and then I'll talk a little bit more and wrap this up. I think this is going to probably be quite a good video. So let's watch this last one.
Okay. Do you mind turning the volume up again so you can hear it?
Oh yeah, right.
Thanks.
Let me make sure this is the correct one. Yeah, it is. Okay. Here we go.
It's for your sake. It's here to improve you. It's here to tell you the truth so you can have a standard with which you can live by that's based on actual truth and not based on how other people feel about it. It has nothing to do with that because people's feelings change. Truth doesn't change. Well, that's your truth. No. Logic is not about someone, that's your truth. That has nothing to do about that. Sure, truth can be interpreted in different ways, but logic is a nice little process. If this, then this. If this is true, then that's false. If this is true, then that's true. If this is false, then that's true, etc. It's a nice little process. If you know how things interrelate with each other, either with extroverted sensing in the physical environment or extrovert intuition in the metaphysical environment, if you know people's futures, if you know the collective what if, or if you know the collective what is, extroverted sensing, and you can see the pattern of that, you can start making logical decisions with TI parent for ESTPs or ENTPs to help navigate that realm in a way that makes sense, right? So why would I want to live a lie based off, oh, we have this rule or this tradition or this standard based on how people feel? We don't feel it's good to overpopulate the planet, so we're going to make, have all these Malthusian-based laws, and it's just like, okay, come on, who cares? How about we should just try to be sovereign human beings and live in truth instead of living the lie? ESTPs have it right. They test the rules, they test the boundaries to see if those rules or boundaries are structural, to see if if they're worth having, if they'll exist. ENTPs do the same thing. We test the social norms constantly. We test traditions, and yet we're very traditional. Why? Well, we have SI inferior. ENTPs actually are very traditional. The problem is that once we try a tradition, we end up either loving it or absolutely hating it, so we'll throw it away. I'm sorry, guys. As an ENTP, I really don't care about Thanksgiving dinner that much. I really don't care. Like, I'll order pizza, but my family...
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so in this last clip, we just saw him talk about things that I think reveal kind of how it's possible to mistype oneself, right? Because if you look at type descriptions, you see stuff like, well, ENTPs challenge social norms and don't care about things like Thanksgiving dinner, and that's probably true for this guy as well. But why is that, do you think, not... What are your thoughts about how well he describes the ENTPs versus how well he or what versus what he's displaying in that clip.
Yeah, can you just turn the so the echo's gone? I think I get where you're coming from. He's saying the right words which fit with ENTP, but it's as though, how do I describe this? It's as though he's rationalized himself into the fit of an ENTP, but if you actually look at the way that the functions express and the way of what he values, what's important to him, so on and so forth, and his behaviors, you can see that they're actually contrary. So, for example, with SI, the way he describes it in, when he talks about the Thanksgiving dinner and everything like that, I would actually imagine that an ENTP with SI in their inferior may have that experience of, oh, do I have to, or whatever, but it's still something that they're seeking and they're wishing for. Whereas the way that he's describing it, it sounds as though it's to do with SI being in the polar in the 7th. So it's his weak point, and it really, really aggravates him. And okay, you're dying over it.
I'm trying not to cough, but I wasn't able to successful. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's cool. It's cool. So SI in the 7th, and he talks in terms of sort of what's coming to me is the efficacy. Is sort of like, how can I use it? And I might get pizza, but the thing is, if it will come, if it will again provide a better outcome by doing X, Y, and Z, which is based upon that ritual or that SI thing, then I'll go ahead and do it. But I could quite as easily just sort of like brush it to a side. Whereas I'd imagine ENTP, they might feel some resentment towards the SI, but at the same time they'd seek it and they'd probably take a pleasure in it when it does actually happen. They might like kick up a fuss, but when it's actually going on, when they're in the middle of it, they would actually be embracing it and really being enveloped in it. Whereas what he's describing is far, far more instrumental towards sort of like, I don't really like this at all. I think it's a complete waste of time. I'll do it, but if I do it, it's going to achieve X thing. If I don't do it, so be it. And he even talks in terms of FE in the 8th, I would say, because I can't remember his exact words, but it's sort of like rituals, ways of thinking, ways of feeling, and sort of like there's a discardability to it, not an integrative aspect of like, oh, I wish I could actually do that more, or I want it, or I need it, which you'd associate with the 4th.
He sees other people's feelings as the problem. So that's the whole like, pressure diamond making suffering thing is the problem is your feelings are preventing you from doing it my way.
I would say that's true about the FI, but he says something specifically about the FE, which I can't remember, which is to do with other people's feelings. But with regards to the FI, it's interesting that he talks about, well, your personal emotions are changeable, but and they might be all over the place, and you can't really trust them, even though they're present. But the truth, there's always this exclamation of the truth, which I'm hearing as the TE truth, is always something which is universally applicable to all. So it's not a TI truth, but it's a TE broad brushstroke for all people.
It's a truth of the frame rather than truth of the process. TE says the process doesn't matter as long as you have the right frame. Keep the goal there in mind and just steady forward towards the path. But I would also point out the thing when he talked about the ESTP, it seemed to me when he described the ESTP that he got respected and understood in general the way that ESTP uses an extroverted action function on the world as a means of change, as a means of challenge, right? And then it seemed to me that as it's sort of an afterthought, he's like, oh, and we do that too, but he's describing it in terms of he knows what it means because he sees how it works in ESTPs. That rather than he knows what it means because he's lived it.
And a point linked to that is I don't know what framework he uses to type himself through, but the SETI in MBTI terms would equate to, I think, have some equivalency to TE in some respects. Because if you listen to what he's actually talking about, he refers to structuring, but it seems as though it's an external structuring, not an internal structuring, but sort of like the ways of having everything outside of you in the right place, done at the right time towards the right goal. Did you pick up on that? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It's like an overarching frame through this whole thing is that there's the purpose of this is to better the self in ways that are action based.
Yeah, yeah.
And you know, I noted, I don't remember if I noted in this video or the mess up video, but all of his videos use this same whiteboard approach, and they're all structured and organized the same. They're executed pretty cleanly, you know, but his channel clearly has a thematic vision and a purposed identity. It does what it does. It's sort of it's NI manifestation of self, and it does it well. I mean, he disseminates a lot of good information. I don't agree with everything he says, but that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is, if you look at my channel, that's what an ENTP's channel look like, right? It's an absolute fucking mess.
Your words, not mine. But yeah. I haven't actually seen his channel or the way he's organized it or anything like that to comment, but I would say that from the little bits that have been played in the excerpts from this video, it seems as though there is a poles apart aspect where yours is sort of like, as I mentioned before, a free flowing, oh, let's do this, oh, let's do this, and let's go off on here and this tangent and maybe here and etc. Whereas his is there's a preachy sort of like teaching, and definitely a movement linearly forward.
It's called guys. He's got guys. It's an ENTJ phenomenon.
Don't do this.
It's fine. Listen, I'm just pointing out that if you want to self-test if you're an ENTJ, pay attention as you're going through your day, how often you say to a group of people, guys. Okay, if you say that, then you're an ENTJ. All right, let's just end the video there. And thanks for watching. Check out this guy's channel. Put the link to it. He does have a lot of good information. I want to stress that again, okay? I am not dissing his base of knowledge that he's disseminating, which is pretty damn good about BB's archetypes and stuff like that. So like I said, I don't agree with everything, but I do endorse the depth and quality of the information he's disseminating as a general rule. Opaloid, any last thoughts?
Yeah, just hope that was of some value. Please like, share, subscribe, comment, give feedback, etc. Visit Eric's store, and also tell us what you think. Do you think that is it Casey? What's his name?
CS.
Sorry, CS. Let us know what you think about CS. Do you think he is a ENTP or an ENTJ or something other? We'd be interested in your point of view.
And last thing is, I do offer professional typing services. I don't want to forget to say that. I got one. Somebody got me last night, which is great. Thank you, and I'll contact you today. And if you are interested in doing that, go to the store and do that under services, or Facebook friend message me and you'll get a $10 discount. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to eat plenty of cheese.